I can't remember where that is now. Where is that in the?
No, it says I'm recording. I don't know. It says you're recording this meeting. Make sure to let everybody know you're being recorded. It looks like
How do I give you the permission to record so that you've got the video?
No, it looks like it's recording. I think with Teams you may not need to, because it's allowed me to. It says I'm recording. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I am recording, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Hi everyone. We'll just give everybody a couple more minutes just to make sure everybody's here. Can you all hear me okay?
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
And Bernard, there's nothing else that we need to do at the beginning of the meeting to make sure, because we're having difficulty getting the videos from the last training to Bernard because they're all saved as different files on my laptop. I think what we might have to do, Bernard, is if this is a successful recording, we may just want to save this one to the website and leave the other one. But let you and I can try and get to the bottom of those other files later.
Sure.
So whilst we're waiting for people to arrive, I asked Fateh this morning if he could just ask you all to think of a text, one that's related to you, that you've posted or shared or read today, and one that's related to your research, and one that's not related to your research. So if you could think about that, if you've not been able to do that, if you could think about that now, anything that involves reading or writing using some form of social media, ideally from today, but if you haven't done very much today, then something from yesterday is fine. But if you could try and think of one that has nothing to do with your professional lives, so it could be a quick WhatsApp message that you sent to family. I'm not going to ask you to share it. I'm just going to ask you to have it in your mind when we look at the website. So one that could be totally informal, it could be a very quick message that you sent to somebody, it could be something that you stuck on Facebook. It could even be something more substantial, something that you read in a newspaper, but it involves your laptop, your phone, and then hopefully, and maybe you haven't been working today, but if you have done a little bit of work today, another example of a text that is more related to your professional lives or your research lives, and just keep those in mind for a moment, so that when we are looking at the questions, then you have something sort of a little bit more concrete to think about rather than thinking too much in the abstract. So we'll get started. It's 5 past. We'll get started. I think most people are here. I can see a few of you on your screens. If you could mute your audio, I think most of you have, and then it just makes it easier for people, clearer for people to be able to hear me. And so what I did want to start with, thank you for sending your questions to Fateh, and thank you, Fateh, for collating them. I've had a look at them, I think, and I've made a note of them. I will respond to them as I go through the questions, so that you can see the question and you can see my response. But the first thing to say is I need to be obviously much clearer about what kinds of data it is that we're looking at, what kinds of texts. Several of the questions were along the lines of, can we use social media, or should I be choosing Facebook or WhatsApp? What I need to emphasize really strongly is this is not something that you should be going looking for. And this isn't something, these aren't texts that you are actively seeking or selecting. They're actually things that you do already. We are interested in what you do day to day as part of your everyday lives. We're not looking for you to go and find new sources of information about COVID or to seek out interesting articles. What we want to do is to tap into, to get a window through which to look at your existing language practices. So the best way to do that is to find a way of you sharing with us the things that you do already. Now, you might think that's really boring and not very enlightening in terms of people's language practices, but really that's in terms of a more qualitative approach to language use, that's where the richest data is. That's where the most interesting things are in what people do in their daily lives. So that's the thing that I really wanted to stress at the beginning. It's not about looking for items. It's about choosing one or two texts every day from the practices that you're already involved in. And that's why it's very open. You know, that's why we're not saying it has to be about COVID. What we're saying is, if at any point over the next 2 weeks you do share something to your family, to your colleagues, to your friends, related in some way to what's happening in the world at the moment, then we'd like to know about that. We'd like to know how you do that. We'd like to know what languages you use. We'd like to know who is involved. We'd like to get a picture of your networks through your existing practices. So I think what we could do is just pause there for a moment, and if you've got a question specifically about that, not any other questions, but if you've got a question specifically about what I mean by your existing practices, I'll respond to that question now. Does anybody want to ask for any more?
Yes, I would like to do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, first of all, while you were explaining the last point, I made like 2 points, like I jotted down 2 points on my phone. And like, I believe that there has been a misunderstanding in the last 2 hours of training we got. Like when you were talking about, we need a post which is a normal, like which you can read or see or whatever on your social media, and the other one an academic one. So what people or official one, let's say. So our colleagues thought that like one should be spotted on an official news like page on Facebook, let's say, which is the formal one, while the other one, it's like one of our friends on Facebook, let's say, just writing about something related to coronavirus, but both of them should be related to coronavirus. That's what we got, and that's what we all shared between us. And I believe if you had the chance to take a look of the post we shared, and for 2 days last week, and probably most of the things that we uploaded to the website were strictly related to coronavirus, formally or informally. Am I right?
No, not exactly. No, there's plenty of stuff there that's not related to COVID.
So probably some of us in this case, we had this kind of understanding. So today I was writing while you were explaining. So you said that you We can share any kind of writing we did with anybody in our with our students, with our family, whatever. For example, yesterday my sister sent me a message to warn me and all my family about I think I'm losing the internet connection. I don't know. So my sister suddenly just wrote a message saying, "Hey, be careful. Tomorrow you need to wear and put on your masks. Otherwise, you're going to pay 900 Turkish lira. Just tell all your brothers and sisters to be careful about that." And I said, "Yes, we know about this, and we will make sure not to forget our masks anywhere." Just this kind of short conversation, does it count, for example?
Yes, great. So I hope everybody heard that, because what I'm going to do is I'll use that. Is the Adiwe? Am I pronouncing it? Yeah.
Adawiye.
Adiwe. So I'm going to use that example for the next few minutes as a way into what I mean by your existing practices, because the WhatsApp message itself is very short, as she pointed out. It doesn't give a huge amount of information.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
what it does do is give us the opportunity to look at things like who shared that message, how it was shared, what kinds of technologies were involved in sharing that message, what was happening when that message was shared. So absolutely, what is of most importance there are the practices that surround the sharing of the message. And I think that's a good way to get into this idea of social practices, is to think about the text is important, and we can talk about the text. But initially, what we want to do to begin with is to identify your social networks as refugees, as people who have left your country of origin and made a home in other countries, and are now part of these very, very transnational networks. We can start to describe those networks by looking at something like a specific example that Adiwiye shared with us just then.
Shall I give you another example and then just listen to you talking about both of them, like one related to coronavirus, if you want?
Yeah. So what we could so the next one is about coronavirus. So that was about okay. So
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? So what we'll do is I'll keep that one in mind when we go to the website. But does anybody have any questions about what I just described? No.
So Tony, just to sum up, it is not confined to COVID-19 related news. It is in general about how we are sharing our ideas via social medias or any connection media.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So do you have one more example that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, today I read a piece of news on Facebook. I usually, personally, I don't post things about Corona. Like I'm talking about myself. I just read because I believe that people have more than enough like pages and resources to inform them about everything. So I'm just a reader when it comes to coronavirus. So today I read this piece of news, which is translated to Arabic from definitely a Turkish source, that the mayor of Mersin got the coronavirus, and he will be locked down for 14 days in his own home. So this is the piece of news, which is, I believe it's official thing, like official piece of news translated from Turkish source of news.
Okay, so you mentioned reading, and reading is as important to our research question as writing. We're interested in what we call literacy in the reading and writing practices of refugees and migrants. So reading is an absolute important part of what we're doing. So you can answer the questions based on something that you read. It's not always as easy to answer the questions if you only read it, because you're not always sharing that with somebody. So it limits, it limits the kinds of questions you can answer. And really that brings me back to the fact that we are trying to respond through this methodology, through this website, using questions that if we were doing a traditional ethnography out in the community, we would adapt our questions in the interview, and I would be able to say to you, oh, tell me about what you read. The thing is, we're not able to do that kind of qualitative research at the moment. So we're trying out this website. So what that means is there are questions on the website that will not correspond to every kind of text you upload. And that's why we ask for your kind of flexibility with it as a research tool.
So what can we do? Sorry for interrupting. What can we do when we come to the question that has no answer because we didn't share it? Like one of the, who did you share this piece of information with? Right? This is one of the questions.
So just write no one. Just don't leave it.
No
you
one.
Can't leave them blank, but you can write no one.
Yeah, because this brings us to the second page of questions, like when we try to upload the post or the right pieces of writing. When it comes to me, what I did, I just wrote some dots in this questions which I have no answer for. That's what I did, because I needed to fill in those blanks to be able to complete the task.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean,
Okay.
rather than put dots, you can put a little bit of description. So
I did that.
Yeah,
but
fine.
I mean,
So that's perfect. That's all we expect, is just a little bit of description that we will look at. We're not going to. This isn't a quantitative study where we are going to spend time coding and theming and looking at the data. So we will be able to see what we call the nuance, the kind of intricacies of the different responses. We'll be able to read those and understand them as part of the data that you've uploaded.
Yeah, I definitely provided those kind of descriptions, but I'm talking about the second page of questions, which starts with, if you are doing a research with CARA, answer the following questions.
You mean question from 17 till 29?
Exactly.
28.
Exactly. Those
That's
questions.
what I have sent to you, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote dots because I'm not doing any research nowadays with CARA. And if I'm not sharing this on WhatsApp, I will definitely not answer the questions related to the WhatsApp.
Okay, I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I think what we'll do is we'll talk separately then, and I think what you can do is you can use that page to talk about some other professional activity that you're involved in. I mean, we've had to get started somehow to describe the text on those pages. If you're not doing anything for CARA, I assume that you're still doing other things as a professional.
Yeah, I'm a teacher.
Exactly. So I think all we need to do then is to find a way to enable you to give an example from your current teaching by using that page. And
you mean I should give you 1/3 example? That's what you're talking about, or
think we'll speak. I think rather than get stuck on this, because most of the people in the training today are in some way involved in research, I think we stick to that at the moment, and then you and I can speak separately about how we can make that page useful for you and anybody who's not doing research at the moment.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully by sharing my screen you will be able to see the website. So there it is. So I think, well, I'll have to fill everything in, otherwise we won't be able to move on to the second page. So let me just get some information into these empty boxes. Okay, so let's try and do it in a way that we are using Adiwe's example. I don't know whether that's going to make it more helpful or whether to complicate things. No, actually, we better not do, because then I'm going to have to keep coming back to her for information. So what we'll do is I will just show you something that I posted on Facebook. Where is that? Okay, so hopefully you can see a screenshot of an empty restaurant in Spain from that somebody shared with me on Facebook. So I've chosen this because it's sort of connected to what's happening in the world at the moment, and it also gives an indication of the kinds of transnational network that I'm involved in. I am quite lucky that I've got a small house in Spain that I visit at least twice a year, and it's in the town where this picture of the restaurant was taken. So in my network, I have lots of Spanish people and British people and French people and German people who live in this quite international community and share information through Facebook in a similar way that you are all part of your own transnational networks. So because this is a picture of an empty restaurant during the lockdown, it is sort of related to COVID, but not directly. So I'm going to use it as an example for my first upload for today. So let me just go back to the website. I know I need to reshare that page with you. This is so much more technology than I am comfortable with, as Bernard knows. Can you all see the website again? Give me a nod. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm just going to fill that in to give you a rough idea of how that fits into my network. So let's say the communication was this morning. It started when I got up. Well, after I'd had my breakfast, I checked my Facebook page to see if friends or family had been in touch with me that day. They were, and I went online and I had a conversation with 2 or 3 people through the Facebook comments from that international community, some of whom are in Spain at the moment, but some of them are outside of Spain at the moment, very similar to your own networks. I was using other social media at the time, and so I was chatting using other programs. So I click 3 to 4, and I was sitting at my dining room table in the lounge at home. I hope that box number 4 will start to tell us something quite interesting over the next 2 or 3 weeks as people start to go out more. So at the moment, you probably think, well, where else am I going to be during lockdown? but over the next few weeks, people are going to be going out. So again, it's quite a nice indication of when you as an individual start to change your practices in relation to what is happening with the COVID-19 lockdown. So you might all be at home at the moment, but you may not be home for long. I don't know. So number 5, why did you communicate online? This refers to the purpose of the online chat. So again, you can tell us whatever you want us to know about this. So I wanted to stay in touch with my international community of friends through Facebook and find out what was happening.
I think is the page is paused.
Oh, is it? Has
we
it
can't
paused them?
see.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
paused.
It's okay now.
Is it okay? Great. Thanks for letting me know. Let me know if there's anything else that looks a bit weird. Number 6. With whom did you communicate? Now, again, this is an opportunity for you to give a bit of detail. So I have friends in Spain, friends in Germany.
We can't see what you are writing. Okay now.
There's a bit of a delay when you type, so yeah.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so it's mainly friends, but it is friends in different countries. So if I was reading this, if you'd posted this, sorry, if you'd uploaded this as your data, as your example, I would be able to see from this who is in your transnational network. Very basic information, but it tells me that you're connected to Spain, Germany, and UK on this occasion. So do you use more than one chat program at the same time? Yes, I do. 8, what else were you doing while you were communicating? So this is quite important. It may not sound very important, but it's quite important because what we want to catch here is the complexity of how we are involved in multiple activities during the same period of time. So I was working on my presentation for a conference tomorrow whilst I was posting on Facebook. And that's just an indication of what we call multimodality. We are able to shift different modes. You don't have to call it multimodality, but what we do want is to capture what kinds of activities you are involved in whilst you're engaging with social media. So I was writing my conference paper and I was checking academic literature and I was posting comments on Facebook. It just gives an indication that we don't stop everything when we go on to social media. So number 10 is there anything else you wish to record in this entry? Oh, we just need to tidy that up. Please add any additional description that is useful about how you communicated. So this is your opportunity to now talk about anything else. So I'm going to say I posted in Spanish comments for my Spanish friends. I posted in English comments for my German friends because I don't speak German. So it's a good example of how we use some languages in international settings that don't always correspond to the nation state that that language belongs to. So already I can see that some of you are using Turkish, some of you are using Arabic, some of you are using English for different activities. So this box here is an opportunity for you to say a little bit about that kind of multilingualism. I'm not going to post the text, and I'm just going. Well, actually, I don't need to. I don't think I need to upload it to move on. So what I will do is I'll just pause there and come back to you all. Do you have any questions about that page?
Yes, I do have one. Sorry, you can go ahead, Hayat. Then I will ask.
I forgot what I wanted to ask.
It's okay. That's okay. Let's have another question.
Okay, when it comes back, I will.
All right. So shall I do that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. There are two boxes, I mean, on the first page, like one's like it should be a copy of the text we are talking about, whether it's a conversation we had on WhatsApp, or whether it's something we posted or something we read on Facebook, for example. So we just make a copy paste of what we are talking about, and then we upload a screenshot. Is that right?
It's your choice. You don't need, as I just did then, I'm going to upload it, and then we will see it from the upload. If for any reason you can't upload it, then you can cut and the copy paste the actual text into the box. It gives you two options. You can copy and paste the text, or you can upload the document.
All right. If we are talking about a post, for example, like, for example, most of the time I just took a screenshot of the piece of news I read on Facebook, and also I did copy paste the text itself of the post, and I pasted. I mean, I did it twice on that.
That's okay. That's okay.
But when it comes to the conversation on WhatsApp, it's a bit complicated. Why? Because when you make a copy of the whole conversation, we have like the names of the people who were participating in that conversation, and the date of at the time of every line that was written in that conversation. And then I had to go in and delete the names because of the privacy thing. I mean, from the copy paste text, not the screenshot. All right. So is that the right way to do it?
Yeah.
All right. That's my question for now.
Okay. Any more questions, Hayat?
No, I couldn't remember actually.
Don't worry, that's okay.
Maybe I wanted
if
to
you
ask
can always
about the
send
details.
You can always send me an email.
Yeah, maybe I'm not sure about the second one, but the first one about the details you were writing, like commenting on the, like, okay, I answered this conversation in the Arabic or in English or in Turkish, and sometimes I'm adding it as to explain the audios inside. For example, if I did take a screenshot of the WhatsApp conversation, some of it was writing and some of it was audio messages.
Some of it was writing and some of it was audio. Okay.
So what I did, I took the screenshot, I erased the names, I forwarded the conversation, I uploaded the conversation, and I have explained in that box that the audio included this and that and that.
Lovely. That's a really nice way of handling it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. So just be creative, like Hayat, and just try and find a way of capturing some of the detail. You know, we're experimenting with this as a research tool. It's certainly not scientific, but it is going to give us something interesting to say about how we coped and responded. So I think that's a really nice example. Okay. So what I've done there is I've now moved on to the second page, which we didn't get to. So I know you're seeing this for the first time. So I'll go through. I think I'll probably just go through to the end. Or maybe I'll do a few questions and then come back to I'll go through a few boxes and then I'll ask you if you've got any questions. So can everybody see question 18 on my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So just above that, it says, the following supplementary questions are for CARA researchers only, and if you're not working on research, we can tweak that. Please answer the following questions based on a research project that you're working on at the moment. If you're not working on a research project, please focus on how you stay up to date with your research. So already we've tried to cater for people not working on research. Number 18, what is the text that you're working on today? For example, is it reading a research article? So let's imagine, well, why don't we go to, I think I asked everybody to think of an example. So somebody that we've not heard from today, could we have an example of a research related article, or not a research related article, a research related text that you have been reading? Yeah.
Okay. Could we here write academic research about the text?
Yeah, so what exactly was it that you wrote today?
Today I'm not right, but I've read text in website about UN Refugee Agency, which is directly related of my research about refugee Syrian women.
Okay, so it is a good example, but we're not going to be able to use it now because I don't know enough about all of the different aspects of what you were doing to use it an example. So you can keep that example in mind, and that is appropriate for this page. But what I'm going to have to do is give you my own example, otherwise I won't be able to fill in all the boxes. So I will say, so I'll use my example. I finished my PowerPoint slides today for a conference that I'm attending tomorrow, an online conference, obviously. So I wrote PowerPoint slides for a conference paper. How does that text that you are working on today relate to your research project? So if I was a member of the CARA program, I could, which I sort of am as an English language teacher, but what I need to write here is how it relates, basically how it relates to my research. So I am working on language and linguistics research about the social networks of migrants and refugees. Okay, number 20. How have you adapted the work that you're doing on this text to be able to work with it online? That needs tidying up. For example, I am writing this text with a colleague using Google Docs. Okay, so what I can say is that I had a Zoom meeting with the chair of the conference panel, who guided me on what to include in my slides, because we are presenting virtually. So all I've done in this box is try to give an indication of how, by presenting at a virtual conference, which would have been a physical face-to-face conference if it was not for the lockdown, I've tried to give an indication of how my practices have adapted to that, how I've changed my ways of working to respond to the current situation. Do we have any questions so far?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
For example, if I'm working on a research, then let's say we have to fill this table every day. And the research that I'm working with, it may take a month or 2 months, 3 months. So are we going to fill those blanks exactly the same information every time, every day?
Okay.
This is one question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I hope I'm being a bit general because I'm filling in the boxes quite quickly. I would hope that even if you're working on the same task for a research paper or a conference presentation, you are obviously doing something different every day, because every day you are developing that paper or developing those PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
So I mean, really, the answer to the question is try to get down into the detail of what is different every day. And,
Okay.
and again, that's such rich data for us to be able to see how in a 2-week period your social media and other online practices are developing from one day to the next.
Okay. The other question is, for example, some days I don't work on the research itself because I already work as a part-time. So sometimes I do work at the office. So in such cases, I mean, can I add those blanks in related to my work? Can I
Yes.
add? Okay. Like,
Yeah,
okay, I did a
mean,
meeting at work. We did this. I gave consultancies about this and that.
Exactly. It would be nice to see again, like how you organize your time between your research practices, between your social, family, friend practices, and your professional practices.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next box is, who are you working on with this text? So the example that I used last week, which was a nice one from Khalid, was that he has a project officer for Norwegian Refugee Council in Jordan. He has project field workers, let's call them field workers, inside 3 areas of Syria, and that's it. There's him in Turkey. So we've already got there, just in that one sentence, an indication of how maybe it's not just because of lockdown, maybe it's just because of how refugees engage now with their networks, that people are able to carry out research, including field work, whilst being in different countries. So that gives us a lovely little snapshot of how that transnational relationship works. 21B, what difficulties have you faced working remotely? So one obvious example is I cannot do field work, but it may not be the case that, as we've just seen from question 21A, there are opportunities to still do field work. So it could be internet connection is problematic. Or what difficulties have you faced working remotely? It could be childcare. You need to look after your children whilst you're at home, which is a bit different to if you were going out to work. You know, so you're having to manage the social situation that you're part of. 22, what is working well about your work on this text? Okay, so if I go back to my example of the PowerPoint slides, well, a lack of distractions. I don't have children, so a lack of distractions when working on my research. So if I was on campus at the University of Reading, I never get to work on my research because I'm seeing students, I'm seeing colleagues, I'm being pulled into meetings, I'm having to teach, I'm having to manage 2 MA programs. So I don't get as much time to work on my research. So I can sort of say quite positively that in the current lockdown, I'm actually getting a little bit more time to do some research than before. 23, please describe any additional information about how this text is related to or affected by COVID-19? Well, I could just say here, the whole conference that I'm attending is now online because University of Reading is closed. And, you know, as I'm not heavily involved in the organization, but I have been a little bit involved. And so I could say more about how we have shifted to an online conference. So for example, that would be really interesting for us to see if any of you are organizing, planning, putting together events during the lockdown, which is frustrating because we're not used to doing it this way, or maybe you are. You can put those details in here. Okay, so any questions so far about that section? Okay, so what I would do, answer the following only if you have posted on WhatsApp related to this text. Well, if I do this literally, then I could add here that we've had a conversation, me and the other panelists have had a brief conversation by WhatsApp to make sure that tomorrow, when we are presenting virtually, if anything terrible happens and there's a technical disaster, we have WhatsApp as a backup channel. So again, that's quite a nice that's a nice detail to include. So I'm going to add that to my upload. I'm going to make up a time there. Does this post relate to COVID-19? I'm going to say it doesn't relate directly to COVID-19, no. So I'm going to put nothing in there. Was this post or content directly related to the writing of the text? So yes, it was a WhatsApp conversation about the text. So we have set up a WhatsApp group as a back channel.
Tony, can you slow down a bit for us? There's a big delay in your typing and what we see, so there's a bit of a gap.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Has it caught up?
Not yet. You're on 27B, are you?
Yeah.
No, we don't have any text in there. I don't know. I don't see any text. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's coming now. Yeah.
Okay, so just to recap from the beginning of 27B, if so, please describe how was this post or content directly related to the writing of the text that you described above. So what this box is about is trying to capture some of that information about how we use different media or different tools simultaneously to carry out our work, in this case, to carry out my writing of a conference paper. So the WhatsApp is happening simultaneously to the other activities that are going on around this. So we have set up a WhatsApp group as a back channel for managing our panel presentations. I'll just leave it at that. Is that visible, Bernard?
Yes.
Okay, great. And now the last part, and we've saved the best till last because this is just as important as all the other parts. What we want here is as much detail as possible, and I understand that this won't be relevant for everything that you do. But if there are times, and I can see from what you've sent us already that some of you are using some English, some of you are using Turkish, and obviously all of you are using Arabic. Try to capture here a little bit of detail about how that's happening. So what languages did you use? So I used English for the PowerPoint slides, and I used Urdu for the my data, and I used Punjabi for my data. So you can see there that my research includes Urdu and Punjabi, but in the research data, not in the conference presentation delivery by me, other than the slides. And then 28B, with whom did you use these languages? For example, I used Arabic with my colleague in Syria, and I used English with the project manager in Jordan. So if you can, try and tell us a little bit about maybe the kinds of Arabic. So you could use standard written Arabic for research articles, and Syrian vernacular or dialect, if you want to call it that, for spoken Arabic. You could use English for translation, Turkish for what was the and you need to say who with. So standard written Arabic with your colleagues. Can you still see the text, Bernard?
Yes, it's coming. It's much better now.
English for translation alone. So you did the translation alone, and then you used the Arabic for conversation. And Turkish, maybe you don't speak Turkish yet or at all, but maybe some of the information that you are being given. So maybe you use Turkish for reading, but not writing, for example. Any questions about those sections?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to say that if I don't have, if I didn't do any group, WhatsApp group, for example, related to this, sometimes it happens, but sometimes it's not related because this WhatsApp group is related to the research. It's not related to the first page.
Correct.
Yeah. So in case this something I was like at work, I did something meetings and I didn't have any connection with the other blanks. So I can write just, I don't have anything related to this. Or what I did last time, I uploaded again from the first page a picture, so I can submit the
the same picture.
Yes, the same.
You can do. We'll be able to see that it's the same, or just write already submitted, or no relevant data, or something like that.
If I may say, in the first instance, it was mandatory that this section be answered. But remember, Tony, we've changed it now. So if you don't have anything on WhatsApp now, you don't have to answer. It will allow you to submit it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it was a mandatory to submit.
Yeah, we've changed that now based on the comments we got back.
Right,
yeah.
thank you.
Cheers.
Great. So
can I ask a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so you said that now you've changed it, so if we have nothing to do with WhatsApp, we can submit it anyway. What about the previous section? I mean, the same page you are discussing now, but I mean, if I'm not working on a research with CARA currently, can I submit my post without answering those questions too?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm conscious that this is going to be quite a big file for the recording, which makes it more problematic getting it up on the website. So if do we have any more questions? No. If you do have any, please do share them with us. You can either go through the frequently asked questions on the website, or you can initially you can email me, though over time you'll need to go through the FAQs. But just while we're getting up and running, I'm happy to answer questions by email. Fateh, does that sound okay with you?
Okay. It's up to you anyway.
Okay.
Just a question. When the record will be available for us, for the team?
I'm going to make an executive decision and say let's not upload the thing is the previous one saved as 4 different files, and it's just not I can't get them to Bernard, who is the one that's going to upload them. So I think I've been through the pages, we've had some examples, you've answered the questions. I think today we'll put today's up, but we'll forget about the previous one.
By evening, Fateh, I'll just upload it to YouTube right after this, and the link will be on your CARA page. You'll have a link from there. Yeah, there's a section on the website that says training resources, and under the training resources you've got live recordings. So this will be there. Will be uploaded there. I'll send you an email just so that you can inform the colleagues that it's available.
Great. Another question: have you seen the text that our team has sent to you?
I've seen most of them. I've not read them all in detail because there's a lot, but I've been through most of them. What
do you think about them?
Well, I think there was definitely some confusion by some people about what. I mean, the confusion seems to be over talking generally. We don't want you to talk generally. We want you to talk about the specific text that you're going to upload. Okay. So as I've done today, I don't describe other things, you know, that I not generally do or normally do. I just try to focus on that. That was my main concern, that a lot of people were trying to give us too much information that wasn't directly related to that text that they uploaded. So I think what we do now that we've, you know, I mean, all of this is it's gonna be difficult at the beginning because of the situation that we're in. But we've had this opportunity now to try and clear up some of the misunderstandings. I think everybody needs to continue uploading stuff, and we'll start to give you individual feedback. I think this has been a really useful group training, but what we'll do now is if there are still hiccups, we can give you some individual feedback.
That is fine. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll finish there. Thanks again for your time. Thanks again for just being part of the project and persevering with this. I think over the next few days, it'll start to come together and we'll start to see some interesting data.
Sorry, before you finish, Tony. So our team can today start sending other texts.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, and we have asked about the 14 days. It could include the weekend or not. It depends on the research.
I think you know, we trust you. If you feel like you sent us something useful at the weekend, then absolutely the 14 days can start at the weekend just gone. If you feel like we can't really use what you've sent us, then ideally you would start again today or tomorrow.
What's about the last 2 days? Are they would you include them in the 14 days, these 14 days of this month or not?
That's what I mean. So what I'm saying is you make that decision. We're not going to penalize you. If you need to make the decision that if you think you sent us useful answers and you know you got the idea in the uploads at the weekend, then the 14 days you can start from then. If you feel that there was some confusion for whatever reason and what you sent us is not appropriate, then I would ask you to start the 14 days from today or tomorrow.
Okay, if anyone submit for 14 days, he has to stop then.
If I understood correctly, you mean stop after 14 days, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
so the
first
initial,
14 days.
yeah, what we're going to do is the project will run for longer, but as you can see, it's not smooth doing all of this virtually. So we've chosen 14 days to try to get everybody up and running. We'll reflect on what we've got, and then we'll start again. It just gives us an opportunity for you to think about, do you want to be involved beyond that first 14 days? We want you to be involved. We're not going to say, oh, you've done a terrible job, you can't be involved. If you have sent us data for 14 days, then we want you to be involved in the next phase. But we do need to sort of reflect on how this is working in order to move forward to the next 14-day period. So there will be a break.
Let me say that we can have another meeting after the 14 days to evaluate our work in general.
Yeah. Exactly. Just, well, I like the word reflect rather than evaluate. Evaluate suggests you're somehow being assessed or measured. We're not doing that. We're just going to look at how we are all dealing with it. Is that okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay, brilliant. All right, well, thanks everybody, and we'll have another training again soon to see how it's all going. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.